Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I want to talk about the narcissist who was the golden child. We always talk about the narcissist that endured trauma and, how they were not shown love and they were undervalidated. But let's now talk about the golden child, the narcissist who was, spoiled. They got everything they wanted. They didn't have boundaries. Their parents put them up on a pedestal. And people say, well, why do they become a narcissist? Like they were validated and they had people that were enabling them. Why should they feel that they are, less than anybody else? Because this particular narcissist, they may have been spoiled. They may have been, entitled to things and thought that they could do whatever they want, but they may have not gotten the love. Just because a person is given a lot of things or, a child's given a lot of things, they could do what they want, doesn't necessarily mean that they were built up as a person. A lot of times when you're dealing with the golden child, that parent may not necessarily have been there for that child. And what they do is they spoil that child with gifts, with letting them do what they want, because the parent feels guilty for not necessarily have been able to be there for that child. That's one particular case. And then some parents are just flat out enablers that let their children let the golden child do whatever they want. So now you get involved with somebody like that comes from a home where they were the entitled child that could do whatever they wanted, come and go as they please, spend money every which way. And guess what? They're not going to respond to any kind of boundaries that you give them. So you're basically going to have no way of working with this person because they feel that they are the boss. They need to be treated as royalty. You better treat them as royalty because this is all they've known all their life, because their parent had enabled them to feel that they are better than you and better than everybody else on this earth. Okay. They are the most, craziest people you ever meet in the world is the entitled child. They'll go out, they'll treat people like garbage. Like, let's say you go to a restaurant, they'll be complaining about this, complaining about that. Nothing is ever enough. Why? Because they were spoiled. They were given everything, that they wanted. And when you give a child everything, okay, and you spoil a child, when things don't mean that much to that child. It's not like they had to work for something. So now, no matter what they have, it's never going to be good enough because there's no value on it. It came too easily for that golden child. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is when you get involved with somebody who is a golden child, they're very much connected to their parent, which is probably a narcissistic parent, either a narcissistic mother, a narcissistic father. A lot of times it's a narcissistic mother, okay? This could be your mama's boy or your, father's girl or something like that. And there's still that connection with that narcissistic parent that made them the golden child, enabled them to think that they are right, they never do wrong, and, they are they're the ones feeding your narcissistic partner into thinking that they're always right, and they're going to be working against you and making you look wrong. So that golden child, they have their flying monkeys, which is their enabling parent, who's also going to be working against you. The other thing too is when you have a narcissistic parent that is creating a golden child, because narcissistic parents, what they do is when they have children, they don't unite the children. They pit one kid against another. The narcissistic parent wants to be the center. Why is that? So that they can have the control. If they try to unite the children, what happens is the narcissistic parent is worried that the children are going to team up against the narcissistic parent. So in order for the narcissistic parent to have the control, they like to pick favorites, and their favorite is the golden child. And if you get involved with the golden child, they are going to treat you lousy, okay? They're going to be giving you orders, telling you, like, for instance, if you live in the house with them, they're going to tell you, why did you do it this way? This should be done like that. Oh, I want this. They're going to demand things. They may demand you buy them fancy cars. They may demand that they want to live in a beautiful home somewhere that you can't afford. They want things beyond what they can afford sometimes, all right? Why? Because they have been put on this pedestal by that, enabling parent, which most of the times is a narcissistic parent. So they always want more. They want more material things, okay? And they will talk down to you as well. Why? Because again, the golden child never had boundaries. They were never disciplined. They were never told, you can't do that, or you have to respect people, or if you do this, there's going to be consequences. So when you have a golden child that never had any kind of boundaries growing up, and, there was no consequences to their actions, where do you think you're going to go with somebody like that when you're involved in a relationship with them? They're not going to, they're not going to listen to anything that you have to say or respect your boundaries. When they get disgusted with you, what they're going to do is they're going to be cutting, and they're going to be putting you down every which way, telling you, you're a loser, you're wrong, you don't know what you're doing, you're not as great as I am, I'm better than you. They'll say all these things to cut you down because they do think that they're better than you, because their head has been blown up by all the enabling of that narcissistic parent who built them up, that they can't be in an equal partnership with you because they'll always think that they're better than you. Okay? So this is how it goes, you guys. Like when you're dealing with the golden child, a narcissist that is the golden child, they think they could treat you any which way. They can talk to you any which way, and that you're supposed to take it. And they will test you to see how much you do take. And the more you're more accommodating to them you are, the more they will look at you as weak, and they will treat you even worse, and they will step on you even worse, okay? Because they'll have no respect for you. So when you're dealing with a golden child like that, you've got to be a very strong individual and set up those boundaries and be like, no, we're not doing this. No, you're not talking to me like that. When you learn to talk to me in a respectful manner, then you and I will be talking. This is how you have to handle somebody like that. But what happens with a golden child is they're going to get frustrated. And when they realize that they can't control you anymore, or you're not putting them up on a pedestal, they're going to be looking elsewhere to replace you. Okay? They're not one that could deal with hard times. They're not one that could deal with sacrificing. They're very, entitled. And it doesn't necessarily, a golden child doesn't necessarily mean that, they grew up, in a higher echelon. It just means that they were entitled to whatever they wanted in the world. They were entitled to do what they wanted. They were entitled to anything that they wanted, and that they never had any kind of consequences or restrictions. So now you have an individual who has been formed this way. This is their pattern of behavior over all the time of their life to feel like they could do what they want, they can act like they want, they can go where they want, and you get involved with somebody like that, you are never going to tame that beast. You are never going to tame that beast. If you do try to stay in a relationship with somebody like that, you're going to be putting up with a lot of crap in order to keep the peace. I see that a lot with people that I've coached. They'll deal with a partner that is bossing them around, telling them what to do, and they don't say anything because they don't want to cause a problem with that golden child type of narcissist that always got their way. So they figure, okay, I'll just do it just to keep the peace, But then you're compromising yourself, and the cycle of abuse gets worse, and they keep abusing you worse, more and more, because the more you give them, the more they're going to treat you lousy because they keep losing that respect for you. So you guys, it's kind of like this. You've got to look at somebody when you meet them and look at what their relationship was to their family. And if they were entitled and allowed to do whatever they wanted, and, they feel that now they could pull that with you, that you better enable them and allow them to do whatever they want. And they also, you guys, they also want constant attention and constant validation. They always, they constantly want you to tell them how great they are. They need to hear this. Because they have that insecurity. Why do they have this insecurity, you guys? When they were over-validated? Because again, remember what I told you in the beginning of this podcast. They never could put a value on something, so it came so easy to them that it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's like winning an award and not working for the award, and you get the award. And yeah, it's nice to get the award, but if you never worked for it and it doesn't represent anything, it doesn't mean anything. So they still feel like there's something lacking within them. And usually when you're dealing with a child, again, when they're, spoiled, or, they have a parent that entitles them to everything, when you look deeper into it, why were they spoiled? Why were they entitled? And a lot of the reason for that is because that parent was not necessarily there for them physically. They may have let them, they may have done things for them like what narcissistic parents do, okay? When their way of showing love, a lot of times, not all, but some of them, is by giving you money from time to time, giving their children money from time to time, because they as a parent haven't been there for you. So in order to alleviate their guilt, they'll give their children, maybe they'll give them their child $100 when they haven't seen them, okay? And it makes them feel better. They did something. They gave them money from time to time. But as a parent, they weren't physically there for them. They weren't there to help them along the way, doing homework, when they were having hard times, when they were sick. So what do? Oh, here's some money for you from time to time. So now they can feel like they were a great parent to that kid, all right? But the kid feels the absence of, even the kid will feel the absence of that parent, okay? So in some instances, when you have the golden child that was entitled and able to do whatever they wanted to do, sometimes those parents were not necessarily there for their children emotionally. So that kid, never had that love and caring and concern. And also, in order to love a child means to, have to discipline a child. In order to be a good parent, you have to discipline a child, to teach them to value things. And when you are a golden child, you were never taught this, okay? So you're kind of like an out of control person that is thirsting for somebody to, give you those boundaries so that they mean something, so that things mean something to them. So now you have this enabled golden child partner who doesn't have a value for anything, and they certainly won't value you. And a lot of times they became the way they were is because they may have had an absentee parent that entitled them, bought them things, told them they could do what they wanted because their parent felt guilty for not necessarily being there for them either physically or emotionally, all right? So the bottom line is they are horrible. And the way you're going to know you're dealing with these type of people is that they just don't want to bend. Most narcissists don't want to bend. But when you deal with the golden child, the spoiled child, the entitled child, they don't want, they don't want the cheaper brand. They want the most expensive of everything. And they want to be treated like a king or a queen. They want you to treat them like royalty. And they will give you orders telling you, oh, you need to do this. You need to do that. They are a basic dictator. And they feel that they are, the ruler of the house, the ruler of the kids. And a lot of times they don't even take care of their children, but then they're ordering you to do this or do that for the kids, okay? They're the boss, they're the expert in telling you how to parent kids, and yet they don't do anything for the kids, okay? They're busy taking care of themselves and spending money on themselves and doing things for themselves because they're extremely selfish, and they will leave all the grunt work to you, okay? So you guys look at the environment that somebody comes out of, look at their relationship to their parents. Do their parents make excuses for them and saying that, oh, like they're not held accountable, like their parents never holds them accountable? Then guess what? Then you better not hold them accountable, or you're going to have a problem with that golden child narcissist because they're not used to having anybody have them be held accountable. And they will, you'll have conflict in the sense that if it's a covert narcissist, they'll run silent on you. If it's an overt narcissist, they may be yelling and screaming at you. But all of this is because of the behaviors that they were conditioned to have in their childhood by being enabled, usually by a narcissistic parent, or not even necessarily a narcissistic parent, just a parent that enables them to feel that they are better than everybody else, okay? So I hope that helps you guys. If it does, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast. If you have, if you want looking for one-on-one phone coaching, go to the link in the bio, you guys. I'm able to coach this week only, and then I'm going away for 2 weeks. Also follow my YouTube at The Game Exposed Podcast. Facebook and Instagram is The Game EXP 123. And have a great day, you guys.